So this represents my first foray into the wonderful world of YouTube videos. I'm just trying to work out the kinks, to be honest, because I have to submit a YouTube video for an assignment, and I'm just considering this a dry run. But having said that, I thought it'd be fun to talk about an aspect of history that probably, I'm guessing, most people haven't heard about. And that would be the medical treatment offered by a neurosurgeon during the World War II time frame. The guy's name was Dr. Ludwig Guttmann. I thought it'd be good to talk about him for my first effort at making a YouTube video. So, for what it's worth, treat me kindly in the comments if you could, please. Like I said, my first effort, and it probably shows, be that as it may. So, Dr. Ludwig Guttmann was a German neurosurgeon who, long story short, fled the Nazis on account of the fact he was Jewish. Not unlike Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, and others. Also, as was the case with the Manhattan Project, Hitler's anti-Semitism really benefited the Allies, but in Dr. Ludwig Guttmann's case, it was a little bit more specialized as to who he was able to help. Just a little bit of background about spinal cord injuries during that period of time. That is to say, World War II. Most people, that is, who sustained spinal cord injuries didn't have a very good prognosis medically. They would die within typically a few weeks to a few months to maybe a couple of years. The reason they would die came down to two main causes. They would get a pressure sore, as happens with people with spinal cord injuries quite frequently even today, because they were just laying in one position and they couldn't move on account of their being paralyzed. Or they would develop a bladder infection, and they would develop septicemia, and then they would die, unfortunately. The reason they developed the bladder infections was because they were catheterized in a lot of cases. Well, I think virtually in all cases if they were paralyzed due to a spinal cord injury. And the medical staff didn't realize that they needed to be changing the catheters on a somewhat routine basis. So yeah, the catheters would get blocked up and the guys would develop a bladder infection, and it was game, set, match, goodbye Charlie, unfortunately. But that, of course, started to change once Dr. Ludwig Guttmann came on staff at the Stoke Mandeville Hospital over in Great Britain. He realized that these patients needed to be turned occasionally, that as in they would turn their beds so that they wouldn't develop pressure sores, and they would institute new catheter therapy so that they wouldn't develop the bladder infections. So after a short period of time, these guys would start to survive where they had died otherwise. And so then once the acute problems were solved, then they figured out that now they need to work on rehabilitation. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next couple of videos. Anyway, this represents my first effort. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more.